The mayor of Mesa, Arizona, one of the most conservative cities in all of the United States of America, just published the following op-ed with Arizona Central. Why, as a Republican mayor, I support Vice President Kamala Harris over Donald Trump. The mayor of Mesa, Arizona is named Giles, and he says, since 2014, I have had the honor of being mayor of Mesa, the nation's 36th largest city and one of the most conservative. Under Trump, American cities didn't get the support they deserved. Infrastructure Week was made into a joke, but under the Biden-Harris administration, Mesa has seen historic federal funding for the Phoenix-Mesa Gateway Airport, along with investments to make sure our streets and public transit systems benefit from modern technology. I want to share this op-ed that was penned by Giles, and I think we will be seeing this more from actual conservatives, not MAGA, but real mainstream conservatives who say, you know what? Under Donald Trump, things were a disaster. We remember. We don't live in MAGA fantasy world. We live in the United States. We remember 4 years ago, we were asking, where is our toilet paper? And right now we see where our 401ks are. We see where our bridges and airports are being built. We see the 40,000 manufacturing jobs, 40,000 manufacturing projects, which means jobs going up across the country under the Biden and Harris administration. Here is the op-ed that was penned by Giles. Arizona Republicans like me can emulate Senator John McCain's motto of country first and beat back Trump and his threat to democracy. The time has come for my fellow Arizona Republicans to return to the core foundations of the grand old party, the GOP. Our party used to stand for the belief that every Arizonan, no matter their background or circumstance, should have the freedom, opportunity, and security to live out their American dream. But since Donald Trump refused to accept the outcome of the 2020 election, Republicans have yet to course correct. The Republican Party, with Trump at its helm, continues down the path of political extremism, away from focusing on our fundamental freedoms. Now, more than ever, we need leaders who put country over party. I believe my party, the Republican Party, has a moral and ethical responsibility to restore faith in our democratic institutions. In the spirit of the late Senator John McCain's motto, country first, I call on other Arizona Republicans to join me in choosing country over party this election and to vote against Donald Trump. Trump did not support Arizona cities, the mayor of Mesa, Arizona explains. In Arizona, we have faced the brunt of misinformation, election denialism, and an erosion of trust in our justice system. The Grand Canyon State is ground zero in the fight against repeated false claims to disrupt our electoral process. From fake presidential electors attempting to undermine Arizona's election to a sham audit by Arizona Senate Republicans that was spurred by conspiracy theories, significant reforms to immigration and border policies that would have addressed the crisis at our southern border were blocked by Donald Trump because he didn't want the problem solved. He wanted to exploit it for personal political gain. Since 2014, I have had the honor of being a mayor of Mesa, the nation's 36th largest city and one of the most conservative. Under Trump, American cities didn't get the support they deserved. Infrastructure Week was made into a joke, but under the Biden-Harris administration, Mesa has seen historic federal funding for the Phoenix-Mesa Gateway Airport, along with investments to make sure our streets and public transit systems benefit from modern technology. With the CHIPS Act, Vice President Kamala Harris and President Joe Biden are delivering thousands of new jobs to Arizonans and helping us grow out critical industries. Harris is the competent leader we need. Trump poses a serious threat to our nation. We can't have a felon representing us on the national stage, let alone one who would threaten and abandon NATO and ruin our standing abroad. We are in a moment that only happens once every few generations when we have to defend democracy and stand up for the right to vote and our civil rights. It is essential that we proceed in a manner that strengthens rather than diminishes public confidence in our democratic institutions. What kind of country do we want to live in? Vice President Kamala Harris is fighting to make sure Americans can get ahead and be safe from gun violence and restore and protect the rights of women. Donald Trump, on the other hand, could enact the extreme and dangerous Project 2025 agenda if elected, which would roll back our rights and freedoms. We can choose a future for our children and grandchildren based on decency, respect, and morality, or succumb to the crudeness and vulgarity of Trump and J.D. Vance and the far-right agenda they would champion. Arizona leaders like McCain and Senator Mark Kelly have embodied the commitment to country over party, and that's the same high caliber of character and leadership I see in Vice President Kamala Harris. That's why I'm standing with her. Kamala Harris is the competent, just, and fair leader our country deserves. This year, too much is at stake to vote Republican at the top of the ticket. It will take Arizona Republicans, independents, and Democrats standing together against a far-right agenda. Let's put our country over party by voting to stop Trump and protect our democracy. And again, that was by John Giles, the mayor of Mesa, Arizona, one of the most conservative cities in all of the United States of America. Now, let me just show you some data points there. First, this is Donald Trump attacking the late, great Senator John McCain. Play this clip.
He hit me. He's not a war hero.
He's a war hero.
He's a war hero.
5.5 years.
He's a war hero because he was captured. I like people that weren't captured, okay? I hate to tell you.
Do you agree with that?
Okay, now here is the former Arizona Speaker of the House, Rusty Bowers, as conservative as you get, talking about how Donald Trump tried to overthrow a free and fair election. This was, again, you don't get much more real conservative than Rusty Bowers. Here is what he had to say, what Trump did. Here, play this clip.
I have thought at times, someone born how he was and raised how he was, he has no idea what a hard life is and what people have to go through in the real world. He has no idea what courage is.
How do you explain the hold that he has, though, on Republicans, including a lot of Republican leaders right here in Arizona?
Yeah. They rule by thuggery and intimidation. So, they found a niche, they found a way, and it's fear, and people can use fear. Demagogues like to use fear as a weapon, and they weaponize everything, and we all know it. But it's sad. That's not leadership to me, to use thuggery.
Liz Cheney asked the question, can a president who was willing to make the choices Donald Trump made
during the violence of January 6th ever be trusted with any position of authority in our great nation again?
I would certainly hope not. I certainly don't trust that authority that he would exercise.
So just to clarify, you're not supporting Trump again.
I'm not. My vote will never tarnish his name on a ballot.
You're never again going to vote for Donald Trump.
I'll never vote for him, but I won't have to.
Yeah.
Because I think America's tired, and there's some absolutely forceful, qualified, morally defensible, and upright people. And that's what I want. That's what I want in my party, and that's what I want to see.
And then when it comes to infrastructure, Donald Trump promised there would be infrastructure. That never arrived. There was no infrastructure act that Donald Trump did, which would have been supported on a bipartisan basis. President Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris got through the legislation for the Infrastructure Act. Now there's 50,000 infrastructure projects leading to a manufacturing boom. Let me just show you the split screen of Donald Trump on infrastructure and President Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris on infrastructure. Play the clip.
We'll talk about infrastructure.
Pass a $1 trillion infrastructure plan.
Who's better at infrastructure than Trump?
We're going to rebuild the crumbling infrastructure. I want to rebuild our infrastructure first.
Infrastructure.
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 Infrastructure. Infrastructure. Infrastructure. Infrastructure. Infrastructure. Infrastructure. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Good job.
Now, when it comes to the border, as John Giles says, look, Biden and Harris were trying to fix the border. They were trying to solve the problem, and Donald Trump killed the border bill for his own benefit. How do we know that? Donald Trump bragged about doing it. Here's Donald Trump bragging about killing the bipartisan border deal. Play the clip.
But you give illegal taxpayer-funded lawyers, so they have millions of dollars in this agreement, in this deal, which we, by the way, killed. I think we killed it. I think it's dead. But you can never say it because bad bills always come back to life because these guys make a lot of money with bad bills. But they give millions, tens of millions of dollars, it's down there, to lawyers to represent the illegal immigrants that come into our country. It's not even believable.
And here is a very conservative Republican from Oklahoma, James Lankford, senator, who was the person who led the bipartisan border deal negotiations. That's like his main issue that he's been focused on and over his whole career. James Lankford, conservative Republican from Oklahoma, he talks about how the border bill was killed by Trump. Here, play this clip.
In fact, I had a popular commentator 4 weeks ago that I talked to that told me flat out, before they knew any of the contents of the bill, nothing was out at that point, that told me flat out, if you try to move a bill that solves the border crisis during this presidential year, I will do whatever I can to destroy you.
Okay, the reason why I just show you those clips is I think it's important that when there are assertions that are made, that we then kind of show you the specifics of what is actually happening, who's saying it, how it's being said, and so you can judge for yourself. Now, finally, one of the things that are talked about in this letter is also character. And there's one way I want to talk about character, and I want to show you from Donald Trump's speech that he gave this past weekend, where he gave a shout out to Laura Loomer, who is someone who's very senior in Donald Trump's campaign. She doesn't have a formal role, but she would be someone who Donald Trump would give an important position to, perhaps a cabinet position to. She goes around to all the events. Donald Trump considers her to be one of his biggest supporters and biggest surrogates. So Donald Trump gave her a shout out over the weekend. Play this clip.
Yeah, Bernie's doing well. The great Laura Loomer. Some of you know Laura. She's a fantastic person, great woman, and a tremendous developer from...
And by the way, this isn't some aberration. This is, Trump does this at all the events. He always gives her kind of shout out. So here he is at another speech giving her a shout out. Play the clip.
Really taken the country by storm. Very powerful person, very strong person, very courageous person, a warrior. Laura Loomer. Laura, where are you? Thank you, Laura. Great job you do.
And here he is in Mar-a-Lago saying you don't want to get Loomered, which means when Donald Trump sends Laura Loomer out to say things about his political enemies, or she does it, on his behalf, either in a formal or informal capacity. But here's him at Mar-a-Lago saying you don't want to be Loomered. Here, play this clip.
We have a lot of great friends and a lot of great people. Laura, how are you? You look so beautiful, as always. That's a woman with courage. You don't want to be Loomered. If you're Loomered, you're in deep trouble. That's the end of your career, in a sense. Thanks, Laura.
Okay, now, what does it mean to be Loomered? What are the things that she says? And let me explain to you why character is so important, in this election, and why when we talk about this MAGA as being very weird and disturbed and dangerous and xenophobic and other things, here's Laura Loomer. You see her right here, kind of front row at the Republican National Convention. Take a look at the things that she posts. So she goes, Kamala Harris isn't black. Then she posts this. And then Donald Trump does a repost of that right after Laura Loomer does it. I just want to show you the connections. Now, what has Laura Loomer been saying about Vice President Kamala Harris? The following. And it's hard for me to even read this, but it's important that you see who Donald Trump is out there hoisting up Laura Loomer says, did you know that Kamala Harris was once an escort and that she got her career started giving, and she uses another word for oral sex, to successful rich black men? She sucked Willie Brown's, and it goes on. I'm not even going to read the rest, but you can see it for yourself, so you can see the types of posts that she's making. And she makes posts like this over and over again. We cannot and should not accept having a drug-using prostitute as our president. And she says this about all of the people Donald Trump run against. So with Nikki Haley, Laura Loomer said this to Nikki Haley's son: is that what you also called it when your mom slept with multiple men and cheated on your father? If that Nikki Haley was doing when she, as a promiscuous woman, named you her son Nailin Haley. So this is just who she is over and over again. When the great Sheila Jackson Lee passed away recently, Laura Loomer said, even on her deathbed, this ghetto B-word couldn't keep Trump's name out of her disgusting mouth. I'd say rest in peace, but we all know lying Democrats who have destroyed our country are going to hell. Good riddance, exclamation point. And so this is, who Donald Trump supports over and over again. And when we're talking about the weirdness and the dangerousness, we've been focusing on people like this over and over again because this is who the MAGA movement is, and it goes beyond politics. That's why when I read John Giles' op-ed, Democrat, Republican, Independent, we just need to have people with moral character in the position who support our democracy and who have a forward-looking vision for our country. I want to leave you with this because some DeSantis supporters who actually watch the MeidasTouch network, and they say, look, we disagree with you, Ben, on a lot of issues, but we like the way you present the news and the stories. And a lot of DeSantis supporters are also fed up with Donald Trump. And it was interesting to me to learn that there are Nikki Haley and DeSantis and supporters who watch this network. And there's actually some who watch this. And this is what they shared with me. They said, hey, Ben, this is from a group of DeSantis supporters. Look, the most toxic thing about Laura Loomer is one of the ways that she also attacks people the way you see it. And you should know, Ben, that she attacks DeSantis as well all the time. So every time Trump gives her a shout out to people who supported DeSantis, Trump is sending a message to us that it is a slap in the face to us. Some of us might even join the white dudes for Harris, Ben. Just get out the message, get out the message. Okay, get out the message. But I want to show you Laura Loomer's character and behavior here. And this is, we could put together people with different political views as long as you look at what Laura Loomer and Trump are doing and are like disgusted by it. Let's focus on building. And I think that John Giles' op-ed was very, very, very kind of well done. Hit subscribe. Let's get to 3 million together. Thanks for watching.
Love this video? Make sure you stay up to date on the latest breaking news and all things Meidas by signing up to the MeidasTouch newsletter at MeidasTouch.com/newsletter.